You're gonna see it all the time. OTC first green day. That's the pattern. It's not rocket scientists. OTC first green day. We play this probably more, maybe the most out of any play. So let's dive into this OTC first green day and let's talk about exactly why we love this first green day, because there was other first green days out on this day. Why did we pick this one over the other ones? Let's go ahead. Let's dive in and talk about it.
Bam, boom. Dive in. Oh shit! This company looks ugly as
Now it's fucked. So this is why we only play. This is why we only play our play, because it's predictable. Look where the stock is now. You can never predict that it's going to really continue. That's why we get out in the morning. It's because that's the most predictable play. We'd love to be in TLSS still, right? That it's at 20 and we were getting in when it was at 5. But if that's not the predictable move, why are you going to try to risk that? Because trust me, that doesn't. TLSS is a gold nugget in the rough. It's very rare. So just play the plays that are predictable and let it add up for you. All right. So Jose, I want your first one to be a first green day tomorrow. Yeah.
Go over next.
And what's great is this one is a first green day, and sometimes the first green days also line up with a technical breakout. So look at the line there. Dude, this is the 1 year right here. So we're looking at the 1 year chart, and these are all days, Trevor, right? So check this out. On this little pop here, this ran up to this spot 0075, but it just couldn't pass it, right? Let me zoom in a little bit closer so you can see. So boom, 775. You see how it touched it there a couple times? So for like 3 days, it actually came up and tested that spot, but it couldn't pass it, right? So for some reason, there was always sellers coming in. What's nice about this first green day is that it popped up and it actually passed that 0.0075 spot, and it was holding that spot into the close. So when a first green day also lines up with a technical breakout, you got two things going with you. And then the third thing is this thing came out with news at 11 o'clock. So they're trying to pump the stock up. It came out with at 11 a.m. trying to get the stock going. So now let's go ahead and dive into this day, and let's talk about how we bought it right here at the end of the day, and we sold it this day that's red and still made money. How the fuck did we do it? Exactly. We sold it up here. We didn't even sell it at the top. We sold it right here. We sold it right here. We didn't even get it all the way up here.
Meat of the move. The meat of the move. The stock market is not. If you think you're gonna catch this bottom wick and sell this top wick, you're gonna upset yourself a lot of times.
Trust me, we tried to do it 4 years ago.
The whole point is just taking the.
We tried it over and over again when the RSI was low and the MACD was lining up. We tried
these two spots. Guessing these two spots is almost impossible. So the whole point is just to kind of get something in the middle of that. And that's what we did. So now let's go. Meat of the move is what we call it.
Now, before we dive in, guys, you got to give a quick shout out to Hemp being a sub penny, and it's also trading, as you can see up here, $1 million on the day. What the fuck? That's amazing.
There's a lot of people looking into Hemp.
So, if you're throwing in 1,000 and 2,000, you have no worries about getting in and out of this stock. There's $1 million in it. They don't even see that. So do not ever get scared that you'll get stuck in one of these penny stocks. It's $1 million going through this. Your 2,000, like I said, is literally nothing.
Also, if you're in the cannabis sector, and we were playing a hot sector, so this isn't just something that's just making a first green day in 1 month. We had some stuff going on. Aurora Cannabis had news that popped up last week. Then we had Tilray that came out with news on Friday about curing corona with cannabis. So it was sparks. CGC was sparking because Bank of America said they're going to be the sector leader. So we had sparks that were popping up out of nowhere. This stock wasn't just coming the first green day. There was actually momentum. And think about it. If you're thinking about cannabis stocks, you're thinking about hemp. And this stock somehow got the ticker HEMP. So the eyes are definitely going to be here.
Yeah, you're right. Hemp, they secured the best ticker in the game.
Because they were first. 2013, they were one of the first.
Hemp
and MJNA.
So let's do it. Now we're going to dive into this day, and let's see how we made money buying right here and selling into this red wick right there. Let's go ahead.
Boom, boom, boom.
We're going to go to pull up 2 days so you can see both the days together.
And
look at this craziness going on. Here it is.
Nick said you don't have to be in the chat all day, and you really don't. The beneficial part is the end of the day. But if you weren't in all day, we brought this up, I think, right at this spot.
Yeah.
Just to start talking about it and to show you that we really like this stock.
Yeah, so if you are brand new, what you want to do is when you do collect your list of penny stocks from us, you want to organize that list by the biggest gainer. So you go to TD Ameritrade. You make sure the biggest gainer is the first column, and then you organize it where you're looking at all the biggest gainers first, because you'd be surprised. That's actually like all we trade is the biggest gainers. So we only trade the stocks that are up like 15-20% already. And you would think, well, fuck, this thing's up 15-20%. Why would they trade it? Hemp was up 40% when we bought it. So we play it because there's potential follow-ups. If it's the first green day, the first day going up 40%, there's a big possibility it'll continue tomorrow, at least in the morning, which happened here, and then it died out. So there's a bit, yeah, you got momentum. You're with the momentum.
I feel like there's been a lot of questions. There's been a lot of questions of what exactly is that first big green day. You know, like how do you know this is stocks up 5-10%? It's a green day, but you gotta identify that it's up a lot, more than you look at the history. Look at last year. Look at all the candles. Has there been a candle that has looked like this? You know, the way it's looking today. How much it's up. You know, how much more volume that it's trading than the normal. So you recognize those. You recognize that it's the very first green day. It's a very nice pattern. Right. It's something to watch towards the end of the day. It's this hour. So in hemp, we didn't even play perfectly. We didn't nail this. You know, it was a meat of like classic meat of the move. We could have made more. For sure. So.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah.
Nah. You can do it. All right. So what we're gonna do now is we really gonna dive in to this, our buy and sell. We're gonna go through minute by minute, which you're looking at here. So check this out. Hemp. So Trevor, watch this. This is exactly like your question. So this is the day. You see what this line? This is where the day stopped. All right. So you got from here to here is the day. This is the time on the bottom. 10, 11, 12. All right. So these are the time frames. So let's talk about the journey of hemp and why we loved it after it was proving itself all day. So it's impossible to call the bottom. You know who calls the bottom? It's promoters and stuff like that. Wait, what? What was that? Hold on one second. Let me just make sure. Sorry guys, I'm all right. My bad. Something just popped up. Want to make sure we're coming through clear. All right. So check this out. You got to make sure this stock is going to hold its gains throughout the day, so that way you can play the biggest gainer into tomorrow, okay? Because you want to play that momentum going into tomorrow. So with hemp, what happened was really light volume in the morning, and it's above this purple line, which is good. That purple line we'll teach you about that later. This is called VWAP. All right. As long as it's above that line, that means the buyers are in control. It's a positive sign. We rarely buy some updates. So we rarely buy any stock that's below VWAP at the end of the day. If it's a biggest gainer, it's most likely going to hold this. And what's great is you can also use this as a cut point, as an indicator of a cut point. But what we really liked about hemp is, check this out. This thing has been holding it all day, right? And now we're creeping into 2 o'clock, and it's still holding above it. And it's holding this gain. It started the day at 5-1. And it's up at 6-2. So it's up about, I think that's like 30%. So this stock is up 30% going into the last hour. Now, let's start looking into it. We got the last hour coming up. We got hemp that's up 30%. It's holding VWAP. It's been above it all day, right? It's got support also here at 6. You see that clear spot where it tried to come down and it couldn't crack it. Then over here, it tried to come down again. It couldn't crack it. So you got times where it tested that spot and didn't come down. And now we go to the news to put the cherry on top. You go to the news and you click it. They came out with this news at 11 o'clock saying that they made $1 million off their quality hemp flower. Nice. So that's just fluff news, but it has that news going for it. Next thing I'm going to look at is the volume. All right. Where is the volume compared to the average volume? That's key. You want to make sure it's at least trading double the average volume, dude. That's like one of our indicators. So it's got to be having good volume for this thing to go tomorrow. It's got to have double the eyes on it for it to push double, right? For it to go up more. So this one was trading like 300% of its volume. As you see today, it traded 400%. So 4 times its average volume. So we got all those things on the checklist checked off. Okay, now this thing is looking bullish. So we actually were looking to try to get in right before it broke out of its high, because if you got in at 6.5 and you're risking this 6.2 spot, you're only risking that 5 to 7% where we really like to risk, right? What happened was this thing creeped up too quick, and sometimes that'll happen where you don't get the buy where you want it. So unfortunately, we didn't get that ideal buy at 6.5. But we were ready. We tried to do it. But what happened was, after that opportunity passes, where you don't get it exactly at the spot you want, and the stock continues to go, it broke the high of day. Now we're saying, all right, it broke the high of day in the last hour. This is one of our favorite things. When it's showing that it made a new high in the last hour, it got to a higher spot. People are saying this is too cheap in the last hour, and they're buying this thing up more because they want it to go. They want this stock, right? And that's what happened. So right as it passed the high of day, what we look for now is, shit, it just made the high day. Let's look for its first dip. And the first dip, we were looking to get in on Hemp. It already had all the things on the checklist lined up. And then when it breaks the high of day, that's the icing on top of the cake. So let's let this thing dip and we'll buy in. But check out what Hemp did. It didn't fucking dip, unfortunately. So what's crazy is sometimes you don't get that ideal spot, but if it's still that bread and butter play with all those things lining up on the checklist, like you just saw, then we still could have a possibility of trading it. So diving back into our play, look at Hemp. It creeps up from 7 and makes a 10% push to 7.8. And then you get this hold here. It doesn't dip. We're like, fuck. We're trying to wait at 7.1 now, hoping it could come back down. It never came back down. So what we decided to do is we actually made our first buy at 7.8 as it looked like it was chewing on the L2. The L2 is chewing up 7.8 a little bit. So we said, all right, we'll buy it on this high day, whatever. And we think that, this stock only has 13 minutes left on the day. What are the odds it's going to crash on us, right? We think it has better odds of going up. It's continued up all day. It's got all those indicators. So what happened, though? Like, check what Hemp did. It doesn't always work like that where it continues to go higher. This one fucking dipped. And we're like, shit, it's actually dipping a little bit. So what we did is we said if this holds that 7.5 spot, which was that multi-month breakout that we were talking about earlier, we still love it. So as it dipped and held the 7.5 spot, we actually bought back. We've added more shares. We were like, let's fucking get a better position now that it's down. As long as it holds that 7.5 in the close, we're straight. And that's exactly what it did. We bought in again. We averaged our price down to 7.6, and it held 7. It closed at 7.6. So we were basically going in overnight even, but it had so many things going with it that we were ready to go tomorrow morning. We were ready for the spike. Next morning, it instantly opens up. Next morning, it instantly opens up past this resistance that it couldn't pass the night before. That's something that you love seeing. All right, it passed 7.8, and it opened up at 8 already. So that spot where for this last 20 minutes, it was trying to get past. As you can see, like literally, it's been trying to test it for this last 20 minutes. It couldn't pass it. But the next morning, that's why we like to play the momentum plays, it gaps up over it. So it's already past that resistance. You don't have to deal with that resistance anymore. All right? Now we're just waiting for the push to sell into. Okay? So it lined up perfectly the next morning. It opens up at 0.008. It never comes back below that resistance. We were using that 7.5 multi-month resistance as our cut. Never even came back down to 7.9. It actually held that 8 and just got a push all the way from 8, and we sold it right there in the first 6 minutes. Boom. That was it. That's our game. That's it. 6 minutes in. That's our game. And we made $250.
We could have made a lot more.
And dude, our position was $2,000. So that's all it took. Yeah, 12%. 12%. Yeah. So yeah, I think we had like a little bit over 2,000. So $270 profit on that play, and that was it. And the reason why we get rid of it so quick, we only like to play the predictable play, dude. This thing could have continued to a penny, and a lot of people would beat themselves up, but you want to just find that play that you can do over and over again, and this is one of them. And a first green day that's lining up with everything I just said, and it gaps up the next morning and then gets buyers that you sell into. While the buyers are there, take the money. Because look, when the buyers run out, this thing starts falling. And it just falls down from 9 And even though it dipped down to 8, you could have still made a little bit of money at 8. But if you didn't take your money there, now you're in the red. So that's why we like to play the predictable move. We're in and we are out. You do not waste a day trading. That's that. That's hemp. If you guys have any questions about hemp, you can put them in the questions box. So that is the bread and butter there. And now the second play we're going to go over is MJNA, which is an OTC cannabis play as well.